Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics.
Welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us here on the Carolina Insider. Of course, here on the show and with a lot of our podcast interviews, we highlight people who are excelling on the field, on the court, or whatever sport they are competing in here in Chapel Hill. Our next interview, a little bit different. Patrick Anderson was a terrific runner for the Carolina cross country team, but our interview with Patrick really focused in on the challenges away from his sport. A life-threatening car accident put things in much bigger perspective for Patrick.
A really serious car accident involving 5 of my teammates on our way to practice that very nearly killed me and some of my teammates. So I was incredibly lucky to survive the accident, and then getting back to running after weeks in the hospital and a number of reconstructive surgeries is a blessing to be able to be walking at all and be able to get back to elite college athletics has been amazing. Something that at one point thought I might never do again.
Okay. And if this is uncomfortable to talk about, obviously just tell. But what do you remember? What do you remember from the accident itself? Fortunately, I've been in some minor car, but nothing. What's going through your mind? What is that experience like?
Yeah. I've shared a couple stories of memories that have come back, but I have little to no memory. I was unconscious for a lot of that time, but the stories I was a passenger in the car, and the car got hit and flipped, I think 3 or so times, and landed pretty much upside down, hanging sideways, and I have little to no memory of between there and being in the hospital later. The scene has been described to me by teammates and coaches that were there. But the one story that I've probably overshared at this point, but I don't know if you guys have heard it, is I think the maybe a week removed from the accident, I'm in the hospital bed, and my face I had gone through I think one of the reconstructive surgeries, and so I couldn't see anything, bandaged face. And so when people come in the room, they have to tell me who they are, who's coming to see me, because I can't see them. And some of my older teammates, Jesse and Marshall, and Jesse's from Australia, thick Australian accent, and I recognized his voice, and I was like, there's something there, his voice. And I asked him, were you there that day, Jesse? He said, yep, I pulled you out of the car. And so then he told me this story about how he pulled me out of the car, and he held me with my face was crushed in, and he's seeing that my face is visibly crushed in. He's worried about my life. And I think he said something I was mumbling, I bumped my nose, and I'm trying to touch my face because I thought I bumped my nose. And anyhow, this memory came back to me of his voice, and it was him saying gonna be all right, mate. Just a couple scrapes. You're gonna be fine. And he's holding there thinking, this guy's gonna die.
Yeah.
And he's calm enough to say that, you're good, man. Anyhow, so that came back to me as one memory. I don't remember the scenario, but I can remember his voice, which is kind of cool that stuck with me. But otherwise, I'll tell you one other story, I guess, to put in perspective. I have a memory of, I don't know where I was, and I think probably in the hospital at this point. Obviously couldn't see anything, kind of waking up and feeling just an overwhelming amount of pain, almost more shock than pain, and knowing that something was wrong, but didn't know where I was, what happened, any of that. And there was a point where I felt like all the energy was leaving my body, because for perspective on the injuries, my spine was broken. Learned all this later. My spine was broken in 4 places. Broke my chest, my sternum, and my skull was shattered, basically. My cheeks, nose, eye sockets, forehead, brain cavity, all that crushed, shattered. And so trying to breathe, everything's pooling with blood, is incredibly difficult. I remember just a little bit of having some consciousness and thinking I gotta take a breath right now. And every time we breathe out, your lungs fill and you're pushing against a broken spine on the back and a broken chest on the front. I remember that. I can clearly remember that amount of pain, like something I can't even like fathom right now. But yeah, I have a clear memory of thinking like, man, I need it. I don't like keep choking down a little bit of air. Like I felt the energy leaving, and I thought that was going to be it. And I remember like fading in and out of consciousness. But that was the only other clear memory I have of that morning. And for the perspective on that, later on, my mom shared this story. The paramedic that brought me in from the scene, he came back into the trauma bay like 6 hours later, like walking around saying, "Does anybody know Patrick Anderson?" And found, I think my mom might have been back there with some of the doctors at that point. And they're like, yeah, he's here. And because his question was, does anybody know if Patrick Anderson's here? I just want to know if he lived through the morning. And he found my mom, and he told her that his best estimate, I mean, it's a guy that sees this stuff all the time. His best estimate was that after he reeled me through the doors, he said, this guy's got about an hour to live. And if he does, his brain damage is going to be so bad, it's not going to be good if he survives longer than that. It was his outlook, the guy that sees that. And so when I think about that paired with those stories, I mean, it totally puts into perspective, like, one, how lucky I am, and just, man, you know, what I have and have gone back to compared to what it could have been is just incredible to think about.